Hi everyone, I want to welcome you. I sent out a notification a little while ago. We're painting, so I remembered the gloves. I'm doing much better today than I was yesterday. Yesterday was a really bad day, and really bad day for me to do an event. But we got through it. But that live was a mess. So, I'm going to hold off for a few moments, sorry, until I see some eyes on here, because I'm just a minute early. So I am working on a brew for, I'm changing the face. So I have an idea. We're going to try it. It may not work out, but you know, that's how you work on patterns and develop patterns and change patterns up, and that's what I'm doing. So I need to pull myself up over here, and I can't do it with a glove on. Okay. Yesterday was an awful day. I fell asleep. I slept most of the afternoon. There, I can see comments. Hopefully today, but we're having an awful thunderstorm. So, yeah, we'll see. Okay. So we're making a crow doll. And it's already saying I have a slow connection. Yesterday, right at the end of my live, the internet just totally went out. Electric went out. Everything. It's like, oh, at least I was done with the project. So, you never know anymore about weather. So say hi when you're here. If you see the red live button, you know you got me live. Otherwise, please put hashtag replay in the comments so I can thank you for watching. Hey, Donna. Hopefully my electric and the internet don't go out, because we're having an awful thunderstorm and it just started. So nothing ever goes right. Hi, Deborah. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. So we are making a crow doll. And Donna, I hope you like this, because, well, I got it all stuffed. I got it all sewn. And then I went to get all the pieces out here, because I was going live earlier this morning, and lost one of its feet. I tore everything apart. Where did that foot go? I don't know. I don't know. It's here somewhere, but I have no clue where it is. I could not see it. So, hey, Deborah. Good morning to you too. Thank you. So, this is my pattern, and I'm changing the face up a little bit. I have it partially stuffed, but we need to put eyes in this. So, I stopped to get just the bill here stuffed, so we can get his face and the bill painted. And I was sitting here looking at it, and I thought, I want him to have an open mouth, because the way it is, it's just a one-dimensional head. So I cut another bill. So I'm thinking an open mouth. We're going to try it. So I cut two pieces of the lower part of his face and sewed them together, clipped all the way around. And because I have no idea why I have a cough, but I cut a piece of lightweight cotton quilt batting that we're going to put inside. Now I cut it just to fit right inside of there. So I'm going to pin this, because we need to turn it right side. But I want this quilt batting to be all the way down into the peak. This is something different than what my pattern says. This is just something I thought I'm going to try. And then when I held it up to the face, I thought it needs a tongue because it's just going to have an empty mouth, right? So I cut another piece of quilt batting that we're going to try to do a tongue. We'll see. This is something I'm trying. Hi, Kay. So I'm making sure that the point of that bill is all the way down in there. You know, I need to take these off. Because I cannot sew with gloves, even though I'm going to put them back on because we got to paint all of this. Hi, Gloria. Welcome. So we have, this is going to be the lower part of his beak. So he has an open mouth. And it'll be like more 3D than just a flat face. Now, he's not totally stuffed yet. So we have to finish this. But this is something that we're going to try now that the quilt batting is all the way down in there. This is a raw edge, which isn't going to be seen because it's going to be under, but I don't want that raw edge, even though it's all going to be painted and it's not going to fray. I'm going to turn in this raw edge. I call these clips my third hand because they hold a lot that, and sometimes pins are just too cumbersome, especially when you're working on small things. So if y'all don't own these, they're quilting clips is what they are. These are the tiny ones. Now they come in all sizes, but if you don't own some of these, and you get a chance, grab some, because I love them. I'm just turning that raw edge all in there. And clipping it. Now, I'm going to do a hand top stitch, like a running stitch, all the way around these edges. We may not end up using this, but then again, you never know. Now, where did I just put my, there it is. Now, I have button thread, or it's called rug thread, on here. I'm cutting that tail because I want the stitching to be seen, even though, hi Boom, good morning, even though it's all going to be painted, you're still going to be able to see this because this is like really thick, heavy duty thread. So I'll move that clip just a little bit. Now I'm going from the inside out, and that's going to hide my knot. I'm going really close to the edge, putting my needle on the inside. Oops, and that went straight through. Let's make our knot bigger. Thank you all for being here. I was going to do this last night, and yesterday was just a really bad day. So that video yesterday, I think, was a mess. Because I couldn't keep my, if you know anything about fibromyalgia, when you're having a flare-up, you got to think about thinking, which sounds really strange, but the brain fog is so bad that you really honestly have to think about thinking. So I'm just going to do a small running stitch all the way around these two side edges. And yesterday was one of those days I got off that video and went and laid on the couch, and I was out. And I'm using a bigger needle because this button thread needs a big eye because it's so thick. You can't put it through the eye of a regular needle. So it's a little difficult to pull. And my hands aren't cramping today either like they were yesterday. My left hand was having so many spasms during that video. I'm surprised I got that floor turtle done. But I hate to back out of a live, especially an event. That's why I don't sign up too far in advance, because I never know. I have had a lot going on. My mom is doing better. They put her in step down. She still has a long road to go with those broken ribs. The one that she broke in 2 places is giving her a lot of fit. So, but God works in mysterious ways. We think, oh no, she's really down this time, and she bounces back every time. She has a lot of fight in her. Nothing's going to get her down. Or anybody else. No one's going to get her down. Hi, Sharon. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Welcome aboard. So, can you see how that's going to look even painted? You're going to be able to see those stitches because this thread is so heavy. Now this is, I can't tell you how long I've had that spool of thread, but this button thread is really nice if you're, for something like this, you want your stitches to be seen. But I use it a lot for stitching up when I do pumpkins to make the lines. I mean, all kinds of things I use this for, but I can't tell you how old that spool of thread is because I have had it forever. So there's a lot on. I don't know now if there's as much on as a spool of this thread as there was, but now I'm going to make a knot right here because at the edge, because this is not going to be seen. But even on this, I'm taking my needle back down inside and coming out because I don't want the tails of that thread shown. Okay. Hi, Julie. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sometimes I think she bounces back faster than I do. And she's 90. She just turned 90. So these clips have been holding this. I'm just going to take a little glue and glue right inside just to hold the front and back together. Yet she fell right after her birthday party. When everybody went home, she fell and broke 7 ribs. And one of the ribs she broke in 2 places. And that's the one that's giving her a fit. So I'm just using the tiniest bit of glue because you don't need much. That's been plugged in for a while. Cozy Crafting. Oh, okay, Boom. I just saw part of your name and I'm thinking, oh, somebody new. But I'm glad you're here anyway. Okay. So this is what we're going to try and put underneath of its head, just so it has an open mouth. Can you see that? When we get it all together, we're going to see how that looks. So it doesn't have an empty open mouth, I made a tongue out of just cotton quilt batting, and I think it's too wide. We're going to cut that down, but just so it doesn't have an empty mouth. So we'll see how that looks. So we're going to get painting, because we have a ton of painting to do. So those of you who follow Sheila at the Red Cardinal Living, this is how she paints her stuff. And the first time I saw that, I thought, all the dolls I have painted over all the years. Hi, Natalie. Welcome. All the years, why did I never think about doing this? Because it goes so quick. So I have just regular Apple Barrel Black. And I mixed it up. Even though all that's going to be black too. She just puts her hand in it and rubs it on. And the first time I saw her do that, I thought, my Lord, all the dolls I have painted and taken all the time with a brush, even large brushes. But you can get the paint rubbed right into those seams. Look at that. So much easier. So whenever I do this on a video, and I haven't done a doll for a while, I give her credit for this because this is ingenious. I think so. Because when you're doing a whole bunch of dolls, that's a lot of painting with a brush. Yeah, look how fast this is going. Just finger paint. So I made sure I found my gloves this morning, because you don't want to do, especially black, with just your hands. But look how fast this is going. I used to sit for hours when I was doing shows and painting every little piece of a doll, and I could have gotten through so quick doing this. The whole body is done that quick. I'm always amazed. So we have our wings. Now they're not stuffed really firm. The lower part is, but this upper part is not. So I can't tell you, since I did this pattern, I don't know how many years ago, and it's been a lot of years ago, how many times I've changed this pattern. I keep adding to it and changing a part. And so instead of sitting here for an hour watching me paint, it's just going to be minutes. So, these are the legs. I have her dress already made. And I changed that today too. So if you have ever painted muslin, you know that you got that the seams always seemed to be needing a second or third coat. Doing it this way, you can rub it right into that seam. And I did a running stitch at the knee so that the leg will bend. So I wasn't aware, but I didn't listen to the news this morning, that we were supposed to get thunderstorms this morning. Okay. Lay that over there. So welcome everybody. If I've missed your comment, I'll go back when I don't have gloves on, when I'm not covered in paint. Her dolls are cute, Natalie. I have several of Sheila's dolls. I just got a couple from her sale she just had. But I can honestly say, I don't think I've ever made a stump doll. And she does them so quick. Had someone ask me one time, why are you buying somebody else's dolls when you make dolls? We all do something different. And I could do this very same doll that she did, and mine's going to turn out totally different than hers. So I'm sure all the people that's bought this pattern from me over the years, theirs doesn't look like mine on the picture. Let's see, here's another wing. Now I am going to do something different to these wings when I get all the pieces painted. I'm going to add some nutmeg brown to the wings just to give them dimension. We would have been here a lot longer painting all of this. Okay. Oh, the feet, top of the head. Now we have to put her eyes in and finish stuffing her head. But we can't stuff it until the eyes are in. I'm using regular doll eyes. But the pattern says to paint them on. Just like a recipe, I never follow a recipe exactly. Even though this is my pattern, I don't follow it exactly. Something changes every single time. So when someone asks me for a recipe, I'm like, oh Lord, how did I make that? Okay. Making sure I have all the black painted before I move this. Okay, so now we got to do the gold and yellow. And I got to dry that face to paint the lower part of that beak. Hey Ronnie, welcome. I'll get your box together later today. Because yesterday I was worthless. I always add just a little tiny bit of either Mod Podge or my homemade Mod Podge to my paints because they dry for some reason so quick. And I don't know why. Hi Glenna, welcome. So this is the beak. This is going to be painted. I took a bunch of my yellows because I've been going through all my craft supplies and I had a bunch of different shades of yellow. I put it all together in a jar and then it was like really like sun bright yellow. So I threw some instant coffee in here. So now I got a gold. It worked anyway. So we're going to mix this up. And we're going to paint our bills and our feet. Now the tongue I mixed up sort of an orange, but I darkened it also with nutmeg brown. So while these wings are wet, we're going to go ahead and get the nutmeg brown on them so they will dry. And all that's going to do is give just a little bit of dimension. So this is my nutmeg brown that I've mixed Mod Podge in. It's just a dark brown. Let me get a little brush. And I'm taking hardly any on my brush. And I'm just making lines. And then I'm just going to fade it into the black. I'm just going to keep going over them until there's no real brown lines. It's just blended in. But you're going to be able to see it. And I'm putting hardly any paint on my brush. And I'm just blending it. And it's just going to give those feather streaks on here. So I'm going to do both sides. That way I won't have to worry about which way these go on her body. And if you just keep going over, you spread that paint out and it just gives you lines. But very faded. So if you get too much, you can wipe it off, or you can just keep blending it until you've wiped a good bit of it back off. Can you see that? Just a tiny bit of shading. Hey Jody, welcome. So we're working on Donna's Crow doll. And we just painted everything Sheila's way with the finger painting. So these are her little feet. So this has, I don't know how many shades of yellow in it, but I just dumped them all together instead of having a little bit here and a little bit there. Because I am downsizing everything. I have a year to get my house downsized because that's when Tony's retiring. And I'm having a sale, an auction, September the 3rd. I don't know what time yet. How did I get black paint on my glove? Okay, we're going to have to paint that one over because I don't want black paint on its feet. I already darkened the paint with instant coffee. That's all the dirty it needs. So we're going to have to go over that one again. Now there is a hole right there. I sewed the whole foot, cut it, turned it, stuffed it, but that's where the leg is going, in that opening. Hi Brenda, good morning. I hadn't made a crow doll for a while, and Donna asked for one. I thought, oh, I got to go find that pattern. Okay, let's get this one painted again. Put this paint on heavier. We may have to paint this one again after I dry it. Okay. Let's wipe this off. What else needs to be yellow? Her face. Wipe all of that off so I don't get the yellow on the black. Of course, it probably would have been easier had I just got another pair of gloves. Okay. I'm starting out, all of my brushes, always, I start out with a wet brush. Let's see, there's the front. good morning. I have to look up through my bifocals to see the comments up there, but they're not popping up over here. I can't get the two to work right together. Okay, let's do a second coat on its beak and match up the front and the back lines. So I already went ahead and put the holes for the doll eyes in its face. So I would know right where the lines are for its beak. And it's harder to paint when it's only half stuffed. So if you have a really bright paint and you want to darken it, I just threw instant coffee in there. And it did darken it. I'm starting to use a ton of coffee in crafting, more than I ever did. And when I make grunge, instead of using water, I make coffee by the pot instead of pots. And I just use coffee for my pot. So this is going to need a third coat. Stir this up some more. Besides paint and a little bit of Mod Podge, there's only instant coffee in there, but for some reason this is really thin. And it might be combining the different kinds of paint that did it too. Okay. We're going to set this aside. We'll put it on a skewer, stick it somewhere to dry, away from the sewing machine. We don't need paint on the sewing machine. There. Okay, so let's do the feet. What I'm looking right there in front of my face. You didn't paint it. Crud. Courtney. Welcome. So this is the lower part that I'm not sure that we're going to use, but we're going to go ahead and get it painted just in case. Because this was a last minute thing. I thought, wonder what it would look like to have a 3D mouth. So we're going to try it. Okay. Let's take this and lay it over there to dry. Okay, so we need to dry all this up so we can get it put together and get her dressed. So I'm going to paint the tongue if we decide to use it. And I have an orange that has brown in it, has a little coffee. So if you are not following Courtney on here, Courtney's Crafting Corner, go follow her. She's going to go live again in September. So we're just drying all the pieces. Thank you for the hearts. I am making a crow doll. And this is one of my patterns, and it is available if any of y'all want it. Just shoot me a message. Oh, I got yellow paint on its wing. And I was trying to be so careful. That's probably why I did it. Because I was trying to be so careful. So I'm making sure all the places that, I don't know if I am gluing this or I'm going to put the wings on with thread. So I'm making sure that all the places where it's going to be attached is dry. Okay. dry it. It's almost dry. Okay, so we have the body. There was a couple pieces or places where the muslin was showing, so I touched that up. Now it's not 100% dry, but let's check these feet. Let me dry them up, just the tops.